want to welcome everyone tonight. I want to start by welcoming our mayor, Mayor Cordino, our council members, Katie Abbott, Anna Hokemer, Ken Fairman. My name is Shannon Del Prado. I have the privilege of sitting as vice mayor for another minute in Pinecrest. And I'd like to welcome our council members-elect, Ariel Meyer and Jerry Greenberg. Our village manager, Yossi Galliano, our village clerk, Priscilla Torres, and our village attorney, Mitch Bierman. We have some other notable guests that I'd like to recognize tonight. We have Senator Alexis Calatayud from District 38. Senator, thank you. Newly elected State Representative Omar Blanco, District 115. Congratulations. From Miami-Dade County, we have Mia Devane representing Mayor Levine Cava. I know Mayor Karen Cunningham was juggling between two events tonight, so she may or may not be here yet, but she will be joining us. From Cutler Bay, we have Councilmember Robert B.J. Duncan and Councilmember Richard Ramirez. And finally, dear to my heart, our former council members, Honorable Cindy Blank, Honorable Bob Ross, Honorable Doug Kraft, the Honorable Bob Hingston, Honorable former Mayor Cindy Lerner. We also have former Mayor of Miami Beach, Dan Gelber, with us. And former Lieutenant Governor Carlos Lopez Cantera. Before we get started, if you'll please stand. Oh my goodness, and former council member Jim McDonald. How could I forget Jim McDonald? Because but for Jim McDonald, I'm not here right now, so thank you, Jim McDonald. I'm going to turn over the mic to Mayor Corradino, but before I do that, I'd like to introduce him and just say a couple of things. Mayor Cordino's roots in Pinecrest run deep. As an urban planner, he participated in the drafting of our very first comprehensive plan during incorporation. Now, I'm not an urban planner, but I have it on good authority that when you're drafting a comprehensive plan, especially for the first time, you're going to get into the weeds, literally. He drove every street in what was to become our village. He analyzed levels of service, water, sewer, conducted soil analysis, and he learned everything there really was to learn about our new city, along with our village manager, who was also here at that time. And he loved it. He and his young bride, Mia, moved here, and they raised their family here. They moved in 1997. Shortly after moving here, the village manager at the time asked Mayor Corradino if he would serve on the village planning board, which he did, and he was quickly elected the chair. Founding Mayor Evelyn Greer saw promise in Mayor Corradino, and she encouraged him to run for council. He didn't disappoint. In 2006, Mayor Corradino ran and handily defeated two opponents. He was reelected in 2010. Mayor Corradino was elected as mayor in 2016, again in 2020. In addition to his service in Pinecrest, Mayor Corradino has served the greater community. He served as the president of the League of Cities, the chairman of the Economic Development Council of South Dade, the chairman of Chamber South. He was instrumental in creating the South Dade Municipal Coalition, which was a very tremendous benefit to Pinecrest just recently, fending off any efforts to overtake zoning in Pinecrest. Under Mayor Corradino's leadership, our village manager's leadership, in the past 4 years alone, our property values have increased over 285%. They've made huge strides, or we have, as a village, made huge strides in infrastructure, including finding a solution to the potable water situation in Pinecrest, undergrounding over 30 miles of power lines, just to name a few. And our tax rates continue to be one of the lowest in Miami-Dade County. Mayor Corradino has served our village for 30 years, 20 years as an elected official. He has brought boundless energy, institutional knowledge, and experience to our village. He's always accessible. He gives residents, our staff, and our council his very best. He's fostered stability and prosperity in the village of Pinecrest. It really is an honor to thank you and introduce you, Mayor Corradino.
Thank you all. That was great. That kind of nullifies all of the things that they said about me on Facebook during the referendum, which was great. That was a pleasure. So we actually don't have to give a State of the Village tonight. Thank you. Good night. We're done. No, I want to thank you for being here. We've had a pretty productive year. I want to thank all of our neighbors, all of our staff, all of our elected officials, current and former. You've done a great job in making this village what it is. And this is a great event every year in Pinecrest. Get the opportunity to look back at what we've done, look forward at what we want to do in the coming year. Typically, we do this event in January. We try to change it up this year because as you look back at this year, it's a year of significant change in Pinecrest. We've achieved a lot, lots transpired. We've done some big things. We've done some small things. The net result of all of that is the fact that we have maintained one of the lowest tax rates in all of Miami-Dade County. We've saw historically low crime rates. We've seen historically high property values. We've initiated capital improvements across the village in every single category, and we've had an election for 3 of our 5 council seats, which represents a lot of change going forward. Sadly, we lost one of our founders, Gary Matzner, and I'll touch on that as we get closer to the end. But as I really start to give the State of the Village address, I want to say thank you to our staff because that's what makes the village tick. And so I want to go through a little bit what they've done, but I want to start with our city manager, Yosin Galliano. I say a city manager and Yossi have one of the hardest jobs, probably one of the worst jobs in local government. I mean, you've got to manage nearly 100 staff. You've got a multi-million-dollar budget. You've got 5 bosses who may or not know what the heck they're doing. They can't talk to one another. They can't talk to your staff. They can't direct you unless they figure out what the hell, an act is one unit, and it takes everybody about 3 years before they figured it out. And so chaos can reign. Everything's got to go through you, to the staff, back to you, back to the elected officials. And I imagine it's pretty difficult, but you do a great job at it. She does a great job because she's been here since our incorporation. So she's got wonderful institutional knowledge. She thrives in this environment. She leads our staff. She advises our elected officials. And she's super creative, leading all of the actual work that gets done in our community. So thank you for everything you've done. I couldn't work with a more wonderful person. Next to her is Priscilla Torres. Now, she's our village clerk, and clerking is very difficult if you really look at this job, right? You've got to run the elections. You've got to process, I don't even know how many, it seems like hundreds of thousands of public records requests every year, manage the charter, all these lien verifications and development orders, and basically keep the trains running on time in Pinecrest. And that means there's got to be sound in the village council, and there's got to be microphones and things like this. The lights have to turn on, all that type of stuff. And most of the time they do, which is pretty good, right? I mean, I think I walked into the council chambers the other day and there was a big chain that said, "Don't go in there." It's like, why? Well, a bunch of kids came in here and unplugged everything. So we'll get it back eventually. Sitting next to Priscilla on the dais is Mitch Bierman. And I want to especially thank Mitch and his team in Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, and Bierman. We have probably the best legal representation in all of the state of Florida. And you can't beat that. Basically, everything our council does has a large legal component, and Mitch and Chad Friedman, Roger Poe, and all the attorneys at that firm, they are prepared to handle literally everything that comes across their desk. They've helped protect us, they've helped defend us, they make sure our contracts and major purchases are cost-effective and sound. They win our court cases. I think they win the winning percentage is off the wall. Somebody would say, you could almost get sick of winning that much, but we're not. Great work. They've lobbied for us. They continue to provide our residents and our businesses with the highest level of quality of life level of service that you could possibly get anywhere in the country. And after all, that's exactly what we do here in Pinecrest, quality of life. Our 2 main goals in this city are maintaining our character and enhancing our quality of life. Everything we do, every time we make a decision, everything we think about every day is focused on those 2 things. And we've been successful. We haven't frozen our community in time. We can't afford to. We want to keep up with things and not let change. We've evolved. That's an art, not a science, and you can see the results have been really effective. It's not easy. And kind of to that point, if you were to have sat back on your porch in 1996 and waited for a police car to drive by, you have literally waited weeks before you could see one. If you called them, it would have been hours before they showed up. Right now, if you call the police, they'll be there in less than 2 minutes. Crime rates in the village have continued to go down this year, and I think we're at an all-time low. And even more important than that, which is absolutely amazing, is that one of the most notable drops are in one of our largest categories, which is auto thefts. And you would thought that if you knew not to leave your keys in the car, that auto thefts would drop. But it took us like 5 years to communicate the fact that it's that simple. So all these educational campaigns, a lot of technology goes into that, and that's kind of credited with that success. So Chief, thanks to you and all the guys there and girls, they do a great job. We talk a lot about information technology because those are the major shifts that are happening in kind of the government world these days. Our IT people did a wonderful shift to migrating to Office 365. You don't see it in the everyday operations that we do, but it really gives us a lot of efficiency, government productivity, helps us respond to the community in a much more immediate and secure way. So that's wonderful. Our finance department just issued a $14 million bond for the purchase and construction of the Mass Park and some capital improvements. And we did so because we've consistently maintained a AAA bond rating over the year. And we can maintain AAA bond ratings because they win awards every year for their financial reporting. And so we're completely fiscally sound there. Parks and Rec, Rob, you guys achieved your accreditation this year. Somebody said it was a CAPRA accreditation. I was going to say, yeah, that's right. Does anybody know what CAPRA is? Of course, the answer is no, and I said, well, I don't either, but I'm sure it's something good. No, but what it does, it means that the Parks Department really meets the highest quality standards of parks departments. They are constantly working to enhance the quality of the operations, the facilities, and really improving our quality of life. Not only did they do that, but they did it at a time when they're doing construction on 4 major parks, which is a way to, they're working their tails off out there every day. Public Works, Dave, you guys, I think, measured, 50 miles of surveyed 50 miles of sidewalk this year, replaced 2,000 sections of sidewalk, on pace to do another 2,000. We've got 5 drainage projects for a total of about $13 million in the works being permitted this year, and they'll be implemented next year, and another 5 major intersection projects that we're doing that are going to make not only traffic flow a little better, and I'll get to that in a moment, but make our bicyclists and pedestrians a bit more safe when they're out there. Pinecrest Gardens in this facility has documented over 1,000 plants, trees, flowers, in their living gardens collection. Believe it or not including this event, but 140,000 people, right? Is that right? Not 140 people. 140,000 people have walked through the doors of this facility this year, all while we seamlessly fit this place into an estate density residential neighborhood, which is pretty difficult because every one of these neighbors has our telephone number, and we hear on a constant basis if, in fact, a baby diaper were to be thrown over a wall into a neighbor's, which has happened. We've received an accreditation here this year. We've won an award from the National Society of Landscape Architects for the design of the upper garden. We've completed this deck, which we're going to drink wine on. Don't spill it because the bricks are new. And we broke ground on the Lakeview Terrace. And we'll show you that later if you want to do it. The communications division is reaching more people than ever before. We have 18,000 people in the village, give or take, and they have emails for 14,000 of them. So you cannot hide from us any longer in Pinecrest. This list grew from 1,900 last year, so they've done a heck of a job doing that. They were also won an award for in-house marketing for the zombie run, and I think one of the most important things that you guys did was perfect the council advances. And these are these little emails that go out that really summarize what's on the council agenda, so you can see if you have an interest in the item, and then you can take a real deep dive into it in like 2 clicks. And so if you have an interest, it's never been easier to get that information to you and digest it pretty quickly. Building and planning, that's one of my favorite departments, has completed an electronic process for getting local business tax applications received and processed. And they're working on an artificial intelligence program to help review permits, which is good because with a small staff, they do about 1,100 building permits, about 3,200 development plans. Code is busy because we're doing like 2,600 cases. So if you've got something in your yard that shouldn't be there, I'd take it out before they come get you. And we've renewed licenses for 1,000 businesses. So all of that work, everything we talked about, which is a real brief summary, was done by those folks, our staff. And local government, the tenor of local government has changed these days. The attitude of the public has changed. It's not a warm, friendly place that you wouldn't imagine what people might say to you over email or in Publix. And so I think it's important that we offer these folks a great round of applause, because they're the people that you deal with first and foremost when you come to the building. Now, the council's role in all this is relatively simple. We set policy and prioritize what we're going to do, and then the staff goes and does it. So in 2025, we need to continue the subtle evolution of our community, making the changes that effectively keep us the same. And we're going to focus on continuing to keep pace with our neighbors in the area as they go through their economic development. We're going to continue to strive for a more vibrant shopping and dining experience on the US 1 corridor. We're going to continue to advance long-term evolution toward the septic to sewer conversion, enhance our bicycle facilities, enhance more of our drainage projects, continue working on our parks, improve landscaping in public spaces, and then efforts to mitigate traffic. And let's dive into that, because I think that everybody who walked this year or walked ever understands that one of the biggest complaints we ever get in the community is about traffic. And this is an interesting problem, because Pinecrest in 30 years hasn't grown. Right? We have probably less people in the village than we did in 1996. So where the hell is all the traffic coming from? Well, Miami-Dade County has grown tremendously. There's probably close to 3 million people in the county now. It's an interesting stat that South Dade, south of 88th Street, is about 50% of the land area of Miami-Dade County. It's got about 25% of the population. There's two things with that. One is there's plenty of room in South Dade for people to live. And so we can expect, as development continues in this county, that more and more people are going to move to South Dade. What makes that even worse is that there's only 12% of the jobs in Miami-Dade County and South Dade. So hundreds of thousands of people each and every day have to drive north. There's only 3 ways out of South Dade, maybe 4: Chrome, the Turnpike, Old Cutler Road, and US 1. And when those facilities get blocked up, they start to seep through our residential neighborhoods. Pinecrest is fortunate. Most of our streets flow. They go through. It's important to keep that flow. But this is a complicated problem, and it's not a traffic problem. And that's why it's critical to our quality of life, that Pinecrest continue to play an active role, an involved leadership role in the county's planning for economic development, housing, transportation, and the environment. We cannot put emotional walls around our community. We need to be firm, but we need to be collaborative as we fight to protect our community's character. We must continue to be leaders, and that's essentially the council's job: leadership and to set policy. There were no better leaders and policy setters than Anna Hokemer and Katie Abbott. And I want to thank you guys for everything you've done. I believe a couple of things about local government. Number one, how you do something is just as important as what you do. Number two, you don't have enough time or money to complete everything that you've got absolute consensus on. So you got to pick your topics carefully. Number three, you're going to have to, if you want to maintain your character and quality of life, deal with unpleasant topics where you don't have consensus that may be divisive. And in those instances, it's imperative that everybody understand the facts, that we have vigorous but collegial debates. We let everybody speak until they feel they've been heard, and then we work like heck to build a consensus and make the best decisions for the community. Finally, I believe you got to let the manager and her staff do her job. And as elected officials, we do that by sticking to policy. Just set the policy and let them go. So Katie and Anna practice these things, and as you can see by the results, we have a smooth, quiet, highly productive council. And that's quite a contrast to what you see in other places. And sometimes, as we're learning through these election cycles, it's a little bit shocking to people. You can see that people want to run on discord or controversy. It's almost expected that government should function or behave poorly, but that's not the case in Pinecrest. It's something we may take to granted. It's not always been that way. So I kind of laugh inside when people say, oh, we need to do something to get people more involved, or we need to encourage people to mix it up because there's not enough disagreement on the council. That's absolutely untrue. They are involved, they're watching. If you don't believe me, just say something like 10-story building, and you'll have more people in this room than you could ever imagine. So they're listening, and there's plenty of disagreement. We just handle it differently, and we handle it more successfully. So the lesson in all that is we just do what we do. People are mainly satisfied with the actions the village has taken over the years and the resulting impact on them. And the proof of that is it's been proved out in election cycle after election cycle. The people have spoken again this year and roundly endorsed the direction we are continually taking. And Katie and Anna were critical to our success in that arena. And I thank you both from the bottom of my heart. You've given your very heart and soul to the village of Pinecrest. I love you, we love you, and we're definitely going to miss you. Thank you. But like I said, this has been a year of tremendous change. More than half our council seats were up for election this year. Jerry Greenberg, Ariel Meyer are joining the leadership team. We're going to celebrate them because that's what this event is really about, this celebrate the new guys and the continuing girls, and and we're going to have a celebration to kick off the holiday season. But I'm required to speak, and I'm obviously taking full advantage of that. So welcome to our leadership team, and thank God Shannon Del Prado is back. She won in an absolute landslide victory. In a world that's split 50-50, to get close to 70% of the vote is absolutely remarkable. And that speaks to how well she did in her first term. So congratulations. That's a strong move. So moving forward with Ken, Shannon, Jerry, Ariel, there are going to be the easy things. I think like 98% of the stuff we do is easy. We have 5-0 votes on it. It's pretty simple. But the things that we're going to deal with, those few percentage, the really controversial, the divisive issues that we have to have conversations about that are really hard to understand, I'm really sure that we're going to continue to conduct ourselves with dignity and class like we've always done. I think that's the efficient, effective, reasonable, rational government that we've all gotten accustomed to in Pinecrest. I believe that's the government that our founders have envisioned. We have two of them here, Ms. Blank and Mr. Hingston. Thank you all for being here. And I believe that's the government that Gary Matzner envisioned. Gary was the originator of our incorporations effort. This year, sadly, we lost Gary. He was the founding father of Pinecrest. He was our second mayor. Gary had the wisdom, the courage, and the vision lead us to and through incorporation and beyond. And the realization of this vision wasn't easy if you weren't here, and a lot of us are new. But it was a couple-year process where they had to convince the county to get us to do it. They had the voters, the citizens, the future citizens had to vote to do it. There were naysayers throughout the process, thought we couldn't get it done, but Gary and Evelyn persevered until finally in May of 1996, the village of Pinecrest was born. And that was just the beginning. Under his leadership as mayor, we saw significant improvements in infrastructure, public safety, vibrant public spaces that brought people together. He had an open-door policy. He had a willingness to listen, and that fostered transparency, making every resident felt valued. The leadership also fostered one of the most significant intangibles I don't think any of us could have envisioned at the time, and that's this feeling of pride and sense of community that we feel today. That's why we stay here. That's why we are one of the most desirable communities in the entire state of Florida. People are coming here, seeking to come here at a rapid pace. And so he set the bar for what our elected officials and staff strive for each and every day. He set the character for the village. He set the tone for small, efficient, effective, people-oriented government, a government where we can provide a concierge level of service, individually touch every single citizen in this village. And we wouldn't be Pinecrest without that guidance and leadership. And to Gary, we're forever grateful. So thank you, wherever you are. Now, the good part, it's a conclusion. And again, as I always do, want to thank everybody here. I want to thank all of our neighbors, our elected officials, and our staff. Of course, Gary and Evelyn Greer for their wisdom and courage. And thank you all again for what we have all been able to accomplish here in Pinecrest together. And the way we've been able to accomplish it. This is absolutely a remarkable community, and God bless you all. So thank you all very much.